U-boats, the secret weapon that changed World War I. At the beginning of World War I, Britain believed one thing with absolute confidence. No enemy could truly challenge the power of the Royal Navy. For more than a century, Britain ruled the seas. Its massive battleships protected trade routes, defended the empire, and acted as a warning to any nation foolish enough to challenge British dominance. But beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean, Germany was preparing a weapon that would terrify the world. A weapon hidden underwater, silent, invisible, deadly. They were called U-boats, short for Unterseeboot, meaning submarine. And during World War I, these machines transformed naval warfare forever. The terrifying truth was this: the most dangerous battlefield of the war was not always in the trenches of France. Sometimes it was deep beneath the ocean. When World War I erupted in 1914, Germany faced a massive strategic problem. The British Royal Navy controlled the seas and imposed a devastating naval blockade against Germany. Food, raw materials, and critical supplies struggled to reach the German population. The blockade slowly strangled the German economy. Factories suffered shortages, civilians faced hunger, and military leaders understood a brutal reality. Germany could not defeat Britain in a traditional naval war. The Royal Navy was simply too large, too powerful, too experienced. So Germany turned toward a different strategy. Instead of matching Britain ship for ship, Germany would attack the one thing Britain depended on most: trade. Britain was an island nation. It relied heavily on imported food, fuel, and supplies transported by merchant ships across the Atlantic. If Germany could destroy those supply lines, Britain could be forced into surrender. That was the secret logic behind the U-boat campaign. And at first, many military leaders underestimated the submarine. Early submarines were cramped, unreliable, and dangerous, even for their own crews. Life inside a U-boat was miserable. The air smelled of diesel fuel, sweat, and chemicals. Space was painfully tight. Food quickly rotted. Crew members often slept beside torpedoes, and every dive carried the terrifying risk that mechanical failure could trap everyone underwater forever. But despite those dangers, the submarine offered something revolutionary: stealth. Unlike giant battleships visible from miles away, U-boats could disappear beneath the waves and strike without warning. It was a completely new kind of warfare, and the world was not prepared for it. In the early years of the war, Germany attempted to follow traditional naval rules. Submarines would stop merchant ships, search them for weapons or contraband, and allow civilians to escape before sinking the vessel. But U-boats had one major weakness. Once they surfaced, they became vulnerable. Merchant ships could ram them. Hidden weapons could open fire. British Q-ships, disguised warships pretending to be civilian vessels, turned submarine warfare into a deadly trap. German commanders became increasingly frustrated. They argued that following old naval rules made submarine warfare nearly impossible. And slowly, Germany moved toward a far more dangerous strategy: unrestricted submarine warfare. This meant U-boats could sink ships without warning. Civilian vessels, cargo ships, passenger liners, anything suspected of helping the enemy. It was one of the most controversial military decisions of World War I, and it would change history forever. The world truly realized the danger of U-boats on May 7, 1915. That day, a German submarine torpedoed the British passenger liner Lusitania off the coast of Ireland. The explosion shocked the world. Nearly 1,200 people died, including 128 Americans. Images of drowning civilians, women, and children spread rapidly through newspapers. To Germany, the Lusitania was carrying war supplies for Britain. To much of the world, it looked like a horrifying attack on innocent civilians. Public outrage exploded. In the United States, anger toward Germany intensified dramatically. Many historians believe the sinking of the Lusitania became one of the biggest warning signs that America might eventually enter the war. Germany suddenly faced a serious political problem. The country needed submarine warfare to weaken Britain, but aggressive attacks risked provoking the United States. For a time, Germany pulled back its unrestricted submarine campaign, but by 1917, the situation inside Germany had become desperate. The British blockade continued to crush the economy. Food shortages grew worse. Civilians suffered during what became known as the turnip winter, when many Germans survived on animal feed and poor quality vegetables because proper food was unavailable. German leaders believed they had only one final chance to win the war. The plan was bold, dangerous, and potentially catastrophic. Germany would restart unrestricted submarine warfare at full scale. Military commanders believed U-boats could sink enough British shipping to force Britain into collapse before the United States could fully mobilize. At first, the strategy appeared terrifyingly effective. German submarines sank massive amounts of shipping across the Atlantic. Merchant sailors lived in constant fear. The ocean itself became a battlefield. At any moment, a torpedo could emerge from beneath the waves. No warning, no escape. Entire ships vanished within minutes. Insurance costs skyrocketed. Trade routes became deadly. Britain faced one of the greatest crises in its history. Some officials feared the country might literally starve. But Germany made a massive strategic mistake. The unrestricted submarine campaign pushed the United States closer to war. Then came another disaster for Germany, the Zimmermann telegram. In this secret message, Germany proposed a military alliance with Mexico against the United States if America entered the war. British intelligence intercepted the telegram and revealed it to the public. The reaction in America was explosive. Many Americans who had previously wanted neutrality now saw Germany as a growing global threat. In April 1917, President Woodrow Wilson asked Congress for a declaration of war. The United States officially entered World War I. Ironically, the weapon Germany hoped would win the war may have helped lose it instead. Still, the U-boat threat remained deadly. To survive, the Allies were forced to develop entirely new anti-submarine tactics. One of the most important solutions was the convoy system. Instead of allowing merchant ships to travel alone, vessels moved together in heavily protected groups escorted by warships. This made it far harder for submarines to attack successfully. Technology also evolved rapidly. Depth charges allowed ships to attack submarines underwater. Hydrophones helped detect enemy vessels beneath the sea. Aircraft began patrolling coastlines and hunting submarines from above. For the first time in history, modern anti-submarine warfare emerged, and gradually the balance shifted. German U-boats still inflicted terrible damage, but they could no longer completely isolate Britain. Meanwhile, American troops and industrial power flooded into Europe. Germany's gamble was failing. By late 1918, the German Empire was collapsing. The war ended on November 11, 1918, but the legacy of the U-boat campaign did not disappear. It permanently changed naval warfare. Before World War I, many military leaders believed giant battleships would always dominate the seas. The submarine shattered that assumption. A relatively small underwater vessel had threatened the world's greatest naval empire, and it revealed a terrifying new truth about modern warfare. Technology could make traditional military power suddenly vulnerable. The psychological impact was enormous. For sailors, the fear was unlike anything experienced before. You could not see the enemy. You could not predict the attack. The ocean itself became a place of paranoia and death. Even after World War I ended, the lessons of the U-boat campaign shaped military strategy for decades. Germany would once again rely heavily on submarines during World War II, and nations around the world began investing heavily in underwater warfare technology. In many ways, the age of invisible warfare had begun. The story of the U-boat is not just about submarines. It is about desperation, about technological revolution, about political miscalculation, and about how one secret weapon nearly changed the outcome of World War I, because sometimes the most dangerous weapons in history are not the loudest. Sometimes they are the ones hidden beneath the surface.